I've been disappointed by a lot of people's behavior this week in reaction to Charlie Kirk's murder. And you want to know how I found out? How I found out what had happened? I was at work, and we were really busy all day. And I kept hearing two of my coworkers like murmuring together. It seemed like they had some little titillating bit of gossip that they were just delighted by. But they didn't. What they had was the story of Charlie Kirk being murdered in broad daylight in front of his wife and children for peacefully, patiently engaging people in civil debate. I need to stop smacking my lips, man. It's gross. I'm sorry. I'm dehydrated. Just the callous, demonic glee that I've seen from so many, strangers on the internet, but also people who are close to me. People that I know personally or thought that I knew. Who I loved and respected, admired. Well, I shouldn't say loved in the past tense. I do still love them, and that's part of the grief, really. But I no longer respect or admire some people. And that grieves me too. I wanted to hold on to positive regard for them, and it is sad when that's ripped away. There are a lot of times when I need to say something and I hesitate because I don't think I can do it. I think I need to be prudent because I am emotional. I'm sensitive. This stuff affects me. It grieves me. I'm not very articulate. I'm a writer, but I'm not a speaker. Goodness. And then by the time I collect myself, the moment has passed, and it's just like, oh. So I'm just coming on here to do a bad job, and I'm going to do it for a long time, I think, and then probably never again. It's very rare for me to be surprised or shaken by the depravity of people. I've been on the internet long enough. I was very, very far extreme left. I was also trans. I did that. I've been in these communities in which let me not be deceptive. I had joy. I knew good people who I believe had good hearts and were earnestly seeking truth, beauty, and goodness in the way that they knew how. But they were the minority. Some of the most brutal social experiences that have shaped the way that I socialize were in those communities. So I'm not just engaging in team sports when I talk about these people. It's a problem. It is a problem, and it is so frustrating and baffling to see people who even now, if they're not actively celebrating, just barely take a beat to say, oh, that's a shame, before they run to their favorite propaganda outlet, find a clip compilation to try and just justify it. That's what you get. There is no word but demonic. I've wrestled with how public to be about my detransition experience and like the grave medical negligence that I think is being perpetrated on vulnerable people. But I mostly stayed out of it. Like, I very intentionally, completely contrary to my nature, really, would be open with it, at least. There have been times when I feel like I have to speak, and I did speak. I posted, like, essays, basically. Always, yeah, really overwrought, long, careful essays. But I didn't speak very stridently, I don't think. And my reason for that was that I know myself and I can't take the heat. I was like, I will be a detriment to this cause because there are people doing such an incredible job of like advocacy and sharing their stories. They're eloquent, sharp, quick. Like Corey Cohn, my heart. Chloe Cole seems fearless. I'm sure she isn't. But it's even more impressive if she isn't, because that's real courage, is just acting despite that. So that's what I'm trying to develop. What's my point with this? My point is that was the wrong calculation. I think that a part of the reason why a significant portion of our nation is able to exist so detached from anyone who differs from them is because we are quiet out of prudence. We isn't really prudent a lot of the time. We're trying to be like measured and preserve the relationship and kind of be polite. And I understand that. Sometimes I think there's a place for it. But if everyone does that all of the time, if I do that all of the time, then it's a major dereliction of duty. And it allows people to go unchallenged. They never experience someone just being as strident as they are and saying, "What are you talking about? That's evil." It's scary to challenge somebody in that way. It really is. But I think that we need to do what Charlie Kirk was doing and do that. And do it not maliciously. Like when I disagree with somebody, even really deeply, even if they really upset me, I don't hate that person. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. And I examine myself to make sure that that's true. Is even if I am very angry with somebody and want them to face justice, actually. I had to do this with my surgeon and the doctor who administered hormones to me. I had to check and be like, do I hate them? I'm trying to forgive. Do I? And ultimately, yes, I do. Because I don't wish suffering on them. And I especially don't wish the suffering of hell on them. And I want them to come into the joy of Christ. That is ultimately what I want for everybody. If you have the slightest disquiet in your heart about what you're seeing, if it troubles you, if it shocks you, and you have just the slightest like pinhole of openness in your heart, I invite you to press into it. Like, seek God. And I was so tempted to put things in like palatable secular language, but honestly, like, repent and believe in the gospel. Repent and believe in the gospel. I'll tell you a little bit about, like, in my transition and my detransition. It was the most profound experience of hopelessness and futility that I've ever had. And it left me so broken and alienated and just baffled as to how to go on. And that is a profoundly humbling experience. It was humbling enough that I was able to cry out to God. And I got an answer. I didn't hear an audible voice, but what I experienced, I think, was even more amazing than that. It was like my whole body, every sense that I had was just filled with the words, I am true. I prayed, if you're real and it's all true, show me how to go on. Because I'd struggled with being suicidal for years before that. And I wasn't anymore. I loved and I love being alive. I love the gift of my life. But I had no idea how to go on. And maybe it sounds very simplistic, but that filled me. That changed my life. That changed the entire rest of my life. But I've been wasting my life. I've been wasting my life for a few years now. And it's because of the fear of man. And I could characterize that as prudence, and sometimes it might have been. I could only do that for so long. At a certain point, it is cowardice. And at this point, right now, it's disobedience, I think. I had an experience at Adoration this Thursday. Just a very strong conviction. I'm struggling to articulate it. I had a profound experience of the fruits of my own negligence. I've had this building sorrow over the last couple of weeks, actually, of just sorrow for souls. Like an urgent sadness for souls. Because I know what it's like to not know God, to not want to know God. And the frustration, you're just unfulfilled. You have like a natural yearning for transcendence in your heart, and there's so many things that you can try and fill that with. And at the end of it, every time it's futility. And I know what that agony is like. And there are people who choose it and choose it and choose it for their whole life. And choose it eternally. Which, let me make myself look really bad. That didn't really hit me for a long time. I was not carrying out the Great Commission. I was like willing to try and have conversations when they just happened to pop into my path, but I wasn't making an effort to evangelize anybody. Not like Charlie Kirk was. And it can't be that way. In silence, in our fear of getting in the arena, in our fear, let me not say my fear of being despised and rejected, souls are lost. And it was my own hardness of heart that made that not grieve me. Now it does. Now it really does. I keep seeing around people saying, I am Charlie Kirk. Or saying, you think you murdered Charlie Kirk, but you just created 1,000 more. I'm not gonna say that, because I'm not Charlie Kirk. None of us are. There was one of him, and we don't get another one. His wife and his children don't get another one, and that's real. Is the lack of humanity to not care about that is insane. I'm not saying that's what people who are using the phrase are doing. I'm just going on a tangent. But yeah, he's better than me. Like, I've watched other people fight the good fight for a shamefully long time. And I've just stayed out of it because I thought I can fight in other ways. What that would be, don't know. Most often it was prayer, and it still will be. But you also need action. You also need dialogue. And that's what he stood for. And that's what he died for. And it's that patient, well-honed commitment to the power of rhetoric to persuade people because you love them. I think those are Christ-like qualities. That's what I admire most about the man who, admittedly, he wasn't like my go-to person to watch. Like, I wasn't a super fan, but I was always aware of him. And I had, like, a fond admiration for him. And this has felt so oddly personal. And enormous. I could just keep getting off the point. The point is, I should be so fortunate to be able to say I'm Charlie Kirk. Because I am not that advanced in virtue, honestly, but I want to be. And I know that a lot of people are going to be galvanized by this whole moment in ways that I can't really imagine yet. But I know that they're going to take up the mission. Yeah. I hope that we do.